thank you for joining the Maple Grove Road project meeting. We're just getting everybody admitted into the meeting and we'll get started here in a few minutes. Just a reminder to please go ahead and mute yourself and we will go over the rest of the instructions here in just a moment. And just to let everyone know, we are recording this meeting. It gives us a good transcript, so we have meeting notes, and that way we're able to follow up on any questions that we need to with all of you. So we'll give everyone just about one more minute. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. To be respectful of everybody's time, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Wendy Wilbur and I'm with Kittleson and Associates, and I am here to facilitate the meeting. I'm here with a group of different people. So Cody, could you go ahead and share your screen and we'll get the presentation started.
Sorry, I actually just closed the presentation.
Did you? All right. There's always a good technical difficulty at the start of every meeting, no matter how long we've been doing Teams. So there's that. I can share my screen and we can switch over. Cody, are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not being as quick as I thought it would be.
That's all right. So again, thank you for joining us. So if everyone could please mute yourselves, and then you can probably go ahead and turn off your camera until we get to the question and answer session. That'll save us some bandwidth. Again, my name is Wendy Wilbur. I'm with Kittleson and Associates. I am really here to kind of just go over the meeting logistics and rules and make sure everyone's voice is heard. So I think most everyone is familiar with the Teams meeting now, but we do again ask you to use the chat during the meeting if you have questions. We're going to hold all questions until after Cody presents. So if you have a question that comes up in between, go ahead and use the chat. We'll come back to it. We'll keep track of it. And then when we get to the question and answer session, we'll ask you to raise your hand and then I will unmute you and you can ask a question. I do ask that you keep it short, one question, one quick comment, and then we'll circle back around because we do have about 20 attendees and we want to make sure we hear from everybody. So please keep your first comments brief. We'll keep circling around the group to make sure we hear from everybody. Today, I'll just quickly go over the team introductions. Cody will do an intensive review of the project, and then we'll turn it over to all of you to ask your questions and get those answered. So we do have a huge team with us today from ACHD, from 6 Mile Engineering, who did the design, and then Kittleson and Associates, who's supporting the project. But I'm going to turn it right over to Cody, who is the ACHD project manager, and he is going to jump into the details of the project. Cody?
Can everybody see my screen?
We can.
Yeah, thanks everyone for attending this second public involvement session for the Maple Grove Road Amity to Victory project. I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly so we have ultimate time for questions. So if I go through something you'd like me to go back to, please just throw it in the chat. We'll get back to it. This is all on online, so you can refer to it at your leisure as well. So quick introduction of the project. Again, Maple Grove Amity to Victory. The purpose of this project is to widen the road to 5 lanes between Amity and Victory, and then also add a multi-lane roundabout at the Amity Maple Grove intersection. And this is to improve safety for all users, people driving, walking, and biking, accommodate current and future traffic growth, and also increase connectivity for bikes and peds. Go through a quick project history overview of the 5-lane alternative, some frequently asked questions, and kind of point you to the survey that we have for this project. Quick project history. Back in fall 21, we did the Southwest Mobility Survey, and that looked at the whole southwest area of Ada County to get basically make sure that ACHD was on track with what the public wanted in this area. This project led directly out of that survey, and back in winter 21, we started design of the 3 alternatives for Amity to Victory. That was a 3-lane, a 4-lane, and a 5-lane alternative. Then in winter of 22, we had the first public involvement session where we most of the survey asked about which alternatives were preferred and why. And in spring 2022, the ACHD Commission adopted the 5-lane alternative, which was the alternative that got the most votes from the public. So talking about the 5-lane alternative, first through the story map. This is what I'm on is what's called the story map. Just for reference, this would be the project website. If I refer to that, you can get links over to the story map. Just to give an idea of the difference between existing and the 5-lane road, we have this slider here, so you can kind of see what the changes are. The 5-lane road includes 2 lanes in each direction with the center turn lane, and then 10-foot wide multi-use 2-way pathways on both sides of Maple Grove. And these have generally a 4-foot buffer here, which will likely be stamped concrete that then widens out a little bit at the intersections. We also plan to add a U-turn at the Victory Road intersection, and then the roundabout at the south end can be used for U-turns also. So this project, one of the changes we'll talk about below, but first one is this pedestrian hybrid beacon. This is a type of pedestrian signal. So when drivers approach it and it's activated, it'll flash. It'll go from yellow to red, like a standard traffic signal. And then when it's dual red, everyone has to stop and stay stopped. That gives time for the pedestrians to enter and possibly even cross the entire crosswalk. But what's efficient about these is once enough time is given, the red lights will flash back and forth. So then it's like a stop sign. So if the crosswalk is clear, you can keep moving forward. This project also includes new bridges at the Knudsen and 10 Mile feeder canals. And this PHB I'm showing is between Lyle and Aquarius Street. I'll scroll a little bit up here. You can see the PHB. We decided to change from 2 PHBs on this project to just 1. And again, sorry, PHB is pedestrian hybrid beacon. And that's because this development near the center of the project plans to have a pathway that connects into the school grounds to the east. So we figured this was the best place for kids trying to get to school to cross, and more efficient use of the PHB. And then if we get to the south end of the project, the roundabout at Amity. Roundabout improves the pedestrian safety by you just have these shorter crossings. So you're crossing 1 lane at a time, and then you only have to look one direction. Crossing here, you look left, crossing here, you look right, instead of worrying about traffic in both directions. And we'll also add rectangular rapid flashing beacons. We call those RRFBs. Basically, you walk up, press the button, you'll have yellow flashers on both sides of each crossing. And that makes you more visible both to cars entering and when you're then leaving as you cross through the roundabout. For more of a detailed look, we have these 2 exhibits, the widening exhibit and the roundabout exhibit. These just give a view of the whole project area so you can see it all at once. Some changes since the first public involvement session in March 22. We did shift the center line of the road about 12.5 feet just on the south half of the project, basically between the 2 churches. And that's the maximum, so it tapers out to a point in the Boise City parcel and tapers back in. And we basically wanted to utilize that open area that exists and have a little bit less impact on the houses on the west side. We did look at doing more centerline shifts north to the north half, but really it was we believe it the fairest is to keep the center line the same as it is now down the center. Center line the same on the north half of the project. We also added some medians to restrict left turns. This is to help slow down traffic, calm drivers, makes the road seem a little bit more narrow, and also reduces conflicts, less times that a car can hit another car or a car can hit a bike. And again, the U-turn at Victory and then U-turn through the roundabout makes up for these lost and left turns. I talked about the change in the PHB locations, and then we also improved the bicycle crossings at Victory Road. So currently there's a bike lane that carries through the intersection. The bike lane has to cross the right turn lane and then go through. Instead, we plan to have the bike lane enter a pathway on the northeast corner. Just want to make sure I got that right. So you would enter the pathway and then cross in the crosswalk. Same thing on the east side of the intersection. We expect bikes to cross in the crosswalk instead of have to ride through with traffic. Some frequently asked questions. Why the 5-lane was selected? Basically, we need 2 lanes in each direction for traveling vehicles to accommodate traffic demand for the next 20 years. Then the center turn lane, where we're not adding the medians, adds safety for left turners by getting them out of the way of traffic. So if you're turning off of Maple Grove, you're out of the way of traffic. And then if you're turning on Maple Grove, you can do that in two phases. So you don't have to look at traffic going each direction. You can enter the center turn lane and then merge onto traffic after that. And again, this was the preferred alternative from public comment. Benefits for walking, biking, and rolling. The pathways, we are now striving what we call the 8 to 80, 8 years old to 80 years old, making people comfortable to walk and bike along roadways. And we believe pathways are the best way to accommodate that. If you're a competent cyclist, you're still legally allowed to ride in the roadway, but we feel like the pathways make the most people feel safe. Then we talked about the RFBs at the roundabout and the pedestrian hybrid beacon down the center or near the center of the project.
Cody, let's take a pause because we do have a question just about the operation that you were talking about. So the question is, when traveling north on Maple Grove and approaching Victory, there is no left turn option. So traveling north on Maple Grove and approaching Victory Road, can you turn left? Onto Victory Road?
I'm guessing they're talking about Bennett Street. So at Victory, like I said, we plan to add a second left turn lane, which includes a U-turn. But because of extending these left turn lanes, we feel that there'd be way too much conflict at the Bennett Drive intersection. So instead of being able to turn left onto Bennett, you would use the U-turn. And then instead of turning left off of Bennett onto Maple Grove, you'd expect it to go Burnett, not Bennett, Burnett, travel east to Mitchell or the street next to that, and then turn a right onto Victory. And then they can come through the Victory intersection and turn left or keep going east if that was their preferred way. And this basically is just a major safety improvement. As you can guess, if we open this up, pull the median back, you wouldn't know if someone was turning left onto Burnett or just trying into these left lanes, which could cause rear end crashes. As well as visibility looking down the hill to Victory Road as vehicles come up the hill and being able to see them as you turn left.
Thanks, Cody. I think that graphic helped a little bit with that explanation. Perfect.
Yeah. So we talked about PHBs. Why we chose the roundabout. Basically, roundabouts are much more efficient and safer than signalized intersections. As you can see here, they can reduce crashes up to 75%. And when there are crashes, they're usually low severity, since they're usually sideswipe crashes instead of head-ons or T-bones, and usually happen at a much slower speed. At a roundabout with the geometric design, it forces you to slow down, to 30, 25 miles an hour as you enter, where at a signal, you can carry through if you hit the green light at the speed limit. And then for large vehicles, semis, fifth wheels, we have this gray area here is the truck apron. So that allows large vehicles to overtrack and still get around the roundabout with, deterring small vehicles from going too fast through the roundabout. And just so you know, especially for semis, they're trained to take up kind of the center, take up both lanes, just to make sure no one enters on either side of them. And then that way they have space to use the truck apron without, impeding other traffic. So if you do see a semi doing that, that's on purpose. Currently, we don't have any landscape plans for the project. We do kind of a hardscape in the center center island of the roundabout, and we're still looking at options there. And then there is a stormwater basin planned here and then up the road, and those will be vegetated, so those will be landscaped. But as far as the buffer and the center island, those currently don't plan to be landscaped. In the future, the county or city or even neighborhoods could request to do some landscaping in the center island. And the project may impact your irrigation system. Please reach out to us if you think that it might. We've already met with quite a few property owners along the project, and we just like to know for sure how it works and how you use it so that we can try to replicate it. And if we need to purchase property from you, lots of good information in this acquisition brochure. Again, I would recommend you just reach out to me directly so we can talk one-on-one and get into the details about the property. And if you looked on our 5-year work plan, which is getting updated this summer, we had the roundabout to be built next year, 2024, and then the widening was just in the future. So our new plan is to build both of those together in 2026. And then below that is a link to the survey. And below that is a timeline. Again, future, but 2026 is the most likely date there. 2023 is when we want to go through the right-of-way process into 2024. And if you need it, my contact info is at the bottom.
All right, thank you, Cody. So we do have a question. Is there any chance Amity will be extended to go to Cole Road at some point in the future?
As of now, no, that is not in any of our future plans, either with the fiber plan or the capital improvement plan, which goes out about 20 years. Both of those roads right now are just local residential streets. And the overall plan instead is to widen Maple Grove all the way out to Lake Hazel and then continue to widen Lake Hazel. And Lake Hazel will be the main route east-west along with Overland, and then to extend Orchard up to Lake Hazel, and keep the widening of Eagle Road up to Lake Hazel is scheduled to start next year. So those would be the main traffic routes.
Great, thank you, Cody. So those are the only questions we have in the chat right now. So at this time, we encourage you to raise your hand and ask questions. Again, please try to keep it one question, one comment at a time. I promise I'll keep circling through everybody, but we do want to give everyone a chance to talk. And if for some reason you're uncomfortable talking, please put a question in a chat and we'll kind of intermix through those. So I will do my best with names as we go through this. They don't always come up right, but it looks like we have Terry Kent. First one up. So you should be able to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so I live fairly close to the intersection of Amity and Maple Grove. How far is that divider? Is there a divider that keeps you from turning left or right? And how far does that go from the roundabout, or is there?
So we plan to extend the center median about to Moonlight. So they will be allowed, so it's kind of split between these two. And that's the north side, and the south side, it's pretty short. It doesn't extend to Cree.
Cool.
But with the extension up to Moonlight, we'd still this is proposed to allow left turns, into Moonlight. So instead of being able to turn left into Tillamook, you would turn up into Moonlight and you come back to Tillamook. And then if you want to go northbound, both would have to turn right and then use the roundabout to make a U-turn.
So Corey, my concern is me coming out of my property, I got to turn right all the time. I can't go anywhere but head to town.
And which street do you turn off of?
I'm right next to the church. My driveway's right next to the church.
Oh, gotcha. Of course.
I can't turn left. So I got to go
Right.
all the way down to the roundabout or whatever down at So how do I get back to where, if I want to go left to take my kids to Amity?
Okay, yeah, if you wanted to get to Amity, I theoretically you'd use this turn here, get on the Moonlight, and go back the other way. That's
So
probably
I
not
got to
preferred.
go through a subdivision. Do they know that? These subdivisions are going to have traffic in the middle of them?
And to be honest, we did realize this pretty recently, and I was going to ask if we would look at adding a Michigan left here. So this would be not just a left turn, but also a U-turn. And these are, like I said, this is a proposed design. It's subject to change. But that's a really good point. Is for you to give access to Amity, we'll need to look at that.
Yeah, because we go shopping at Albertsons out on Lake Hazel. I can't get there without going through this subdivision. And I can tell you, because of the the pipe being put in the water line right now, that subdivision is, everybody in the world's going through that subdivision.
Mhm.
They're up in arms. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that perspective. That's important information for the team to know. All right, Anthony?
Yeah, so you guys said that you shifted the horizontal alignment on the south section, but on the north section, what's the offset from center line to the new right of way, and what was the offset from center line to existing right? Because it's 48 foot right of way right now, so 24. What's the horizontal alignment look like on the north section?
So on the project website, we do have the typical sections for each one. So with the 5-lane, where it's, like I said, the north half is pretty much centered on the existing center line. So
You
it's
said
45.5 feet.
Well, I mean, pretty much. Is it exactly on center? I mean, could I go out to my fence and measure an additional, like, whatever, 24 minus 48, 45.5? Can I just go measure that from my fence? Or is there is there some shift? Did you put like because the street widening from Victory to Overland, you guys jogged that all over the place to try to avoid properties, and so if it's on center line, evenly offset between the left and the right, then I should just be able to go and measure it from the current fence line or property corner. So is it constant on the north section, other than at the intersections and down by that at the south end where you shifted it for the roundabout?
I'd say effectively, yes. We need a little bit extra right of way at the side streets to get the extra room for the ped ramps to cross, and to get the offset for the pathway crosswalk. But yeah, as I zoom in here, you can see existing center line is pretty well centered on the center turn lane.
Okay.
All right. We'll come back to you, Anthony, if you have some follow-up questions on that, but let's
do.
keep moving forward. Jill, you have your hand up?
Yes, my question is, if this project starts in 2026, when is the Amity to Lake Hazel section scheduled?
That's hard to say. It was scheduled for future in the current fiber work plan. We'll know much more in July when the draft fiber work plan gets put out for public comment. But as of now,
Okay.
it doesn't have a construction year.
Okay, that's good to know. And then when you say 2026, is that like start of construction or end of construction?
The goal would be to bid the project out in the fall of 2025. So that way we could start as close as possible to, January 5th or so in 2026, and then complete the project by that fall is the current goal.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Emily?
Yeah. So I'm just curious, like, what made you guys want to start this project? Were there any specific problems that this is looking to solve?
In general, it's to accommodate future projected growth. This project's been on the we call it the capital improvements plan. It's a 20-year plan. You can browse through that. It's on our website. And for the most part, Maple Grove, 5 Mile, Eagle, all of our plan to be widened to 5 lanes. And that's the main drive for most of these projects is future growth.
Great, thank you. Dawn, do you have your hand up?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I've made many business trips into Michigan where the Michigan left is used. And it's an excellent way to do the kind of turn that you have need of here, so you do not have to go through somebody's area. So I think that should be the way to incorporate that. That is, you have traffic through those people's houses, they're going to be upset. My other addition to that was that in Michigan, when the traffic got so busy that the Michigan left people had trouble turning, they would actually put up a red light there to halt traffic so that the string of left turners could get through. So that's how you do the growth on that.
Yeah, we've noticed that Idaho Transportation Department recently installed one of those on Eagle Road, just north of Fairview, where they actually closed down a Michigan left because they were crossing so many lanes of traffic. And then to make that safer, they added a signal there. And as you said that, I realized, instead of at Moonlight, maybe Binaffle is a better location, or just another place we have room. Yeah, great point. Thank you.
Yeah, and realize that when you get your center lane for collecting the cars for the left, you may need to move that a little bit further north and lining it up right with that Moonlight Street. But anyhow, that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, I'm surprised actually that you chose the intersection of Amity and Maple Grove to put in the roundabout because there is no access from Amity over to Cole Road. So there's only 3 places where people can join that roundabout to get through. I'm wondering why you chose to put it there.
So roundabouts, again, they have specific uses, and there's thresholds for where they work the best. But this is one. What's the word I'm looking for? Just one location is not the right word, but just how traffic flows through here with a heavy majority of traffic being on Maple Grove, it allows that traffic to keep moving without needing to completely stop for traffic on Amity. But it also lets people, forces people to slow down enough that people on Amity can also use the intersection. And it helps to calm traffic by also slowing people down. So it is one of those locations where roundabouts can be used really effectively when all 4 legs have lots of traffic, when it's more even, or when you have lots of traffic on one movement. So this through lets traffic continue to flow on Maple Grove while still giving access to Amity. And a good example where that's the case, roundabouts just like this one, multi-lanes we've installed. There's the one at Eagle Road and the Zaldia. So that was mid-mile between Amity and Victory. Then also the Whitewater Park Boulevard roundabout is also another example of a multi-lane roundabout. And that's just that's basically a 3-leg intersection with the entrance to the park. And again, that's why we chose the roundabout, is to keep traffic flowing on Whitewater instead of having to stop it every time someone wants to enter or leave the park or the small side street.
All right. And if you have a follow-up question, you can get back in the queue, but we'll move over to JA, your initials. I'm not sure which one.
Hi, yeah. I was just wondering, I know you're saying thresholds and some of these barriers and stuff, a lot of the other improvements, haven't seen those up to this point. I'm wondering if there's any statistics around the actual accidents that occur, and if these kind of restrictions are actually going to decrease them, because we don't see them that often actually where we're at.
Are you talking about the restricting left turns or the roundabout, or just everything in general?
Restricting left turns and the roundabout, I guess from my perspective, it seems a little excessive. And then my second question would be is, I don't know what, maybe it was mentioned earlier, but planned improvement between the park and potentially that new subdivision that's going in right now. And if it's not a park and if it's a bunch of houses, how that will affect this as well.
Sure. I mean, the road's not widened yet. There's no center turn lane now, so it's hard to kind of track crashes for this location. In general, ACHD is looking more into restricting left turns just because of the safety improvement of less possible conflict points. Within reason. Usually, no left turns means you have to drive further out of your way. That happens along Eagle Road, where it's a highway where you can't turn left for long portions, and you can make either a Michigan left that you turn center mile or at the intersections. And also these medians slow traffic, and that's been proven to make the road appear narrower, and it helps calm drivers. You get less of a wide open feeling, so it'll reduce the comfortable speed. And again, it's just a reasonable safety improvement, we feel. Just we would rather not wait for crashes to happen and fix them, and try to make the project as safe as possible. Same with the roundabout. Not only is it more effective with moving traffic, but also the safety improvements there, and those have been pretty well proven. And with the PH, so your question was, do you remind me your final part of that question? You said that with the new development.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess I would, if you're seeing an increase in accidents, that's one thing. But if you're not, from my perspective, I don't know how necessary they are. Maybe just buy Victory and buy Amity. And then I know that there's also like we said, all that expansion that's going on. And I'm curious too, if you're going to be putting in those little white cones like we see everywhere else on Maple Grove, that it just causes dirt to be built up in the bike lane instead of actually be usable.
Yeah, sorry. As soon as I asked it, I remembered the end of your question. So to go to that first, when this area develops, we've kind of left that open. Another reason we moved the pedestrian hybrid beacon from Binaffle is we're not sure if this development will take access off Aquarius or access off of Binaffle. Most likely Binaffle, and then we would likely have a traffic signal there, depending on what the development actually is. And then for sorry, now I've been a long day, but I have to remember the other part. Will you remind me what you just said about the final point?
The white markers.
Oh, thank you.
For the bike.
Yeah, we don't plan on that. I knew I was zooming in for something. So that is part of the point of the pathways, is that there would be no bike lane. So no bike lane, no markers. Bikes, if they, like I said, if they are comfortable, they can ride in the roadway, but most cyclists would use the pathway instead.
Great, thanks. And before we go back to the Anthony and some of the other people that have their hands up, just a quick explanation, Cody. There was a question about the two bridges. What are those exactly? We know they're over the canals, but could you just explain where those are and what those look like?
Yeah, so the first one's the 10-mile feeder. That's just north of Amity. And you can see we have to widen the bridge and kind of shift it to the east. And that'll include, full pathways on both sides. We'll extend it out so that way it's, clear zone from traffic. And just to improve that, right now there's basically just the pedestrian facility on the west side, nothing on the east side. And then up here is the Knudsen lateral, and this is a pretty basic improvement. We'll just extend the existing bridge, replace the existing bridge and extend it again so that it is away from traffic and away from the pathway.
Great, thank you. Anthony?
Yeah. So I noticed in looking at the colored proposed hatching of improvements that there's a lot of people on this alignment, including myself, that have horseshoe driveways. You've eliminated the driveways, the 2 driveways for most of them, so now there's only 1 entrance and exit out of a single driveway. But then there's some, like north of Wright Street, there's a home with a horseshoe driveway where you've kept both driveways, it appears. And I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for why some people maintain 2 driveways and other people get, yeah, that one right there above your cursor. So why some people are getting 2 driveways to maintain existing access, while others are having some of their access removed. I had sent Cody an email and asked, and it's, I guess, to reduce the number of people or points of people turning into the road, but I mean, access to our property is pretty important. So why are some people getting 2 or continuing to get 2 and others are having half of their access eliminated?
Right, yeah, to clarify, or just to add on, I should say, yeah, a plan of this project was to reduce accesses where feasible. And each property is context sensitive. So the one remaining here, this is an active daycare, and there really wasn't a way to allow cars to enter and back up. So parents come in here and they use this as a looping entrance and exit. So to safely get kids out of there and not have traffic back up onto Maple Grove, we considered having those 2 accesses there. And then if things change in the future, we can remove those accesses. Another example over here on Churchill, to continue to use this part of this property, this homeowner needs to be able to enter here and kind of back in or pull through, where this property owner just has the driveway access here. So we might realign this so that's easier. But all these are just proposals. They can be discussed during right of way. Overall, I wanted to show what ACHD would prefer take place. Doesn't mean it has to, but we do try, especially on these Arturo roadways, to limit access as much as feasible.
And again, I do encourage everyone, if you are a property owner along here, to reach out to Cody and discuss your specific questions and circumstances. Leslie.
Hi, just a couple of things. I get the whole safety issue on the not allowing so many left turns. At the same time, I question that we've expanded this road to 5 lanes so we can accommodate more people, and yet it seems like the people along there are having their accommodations taken away by not being able to turn left. And so the safety part is one thing, but I think we're smart enough to make left turns. I mean, that's why we take driver's license tests. I don't think we should have to control that safety. There will be accidents probably no matter which way. And I just feel like there's too many rules and regulations for us to be able to drive like we've been taught to drive. Taking Burnett doesn't affect me, but taking Burnett out to the west and then onto Victory, you're taking them onto a 2-lane road that's already, just with this diversion with the Maple Grove project now, that backup on Mitchell is huge. And to get that traffic onto Victory there, and then to take more people out onto Victory onto a 2-lane road is going to be a huge backup over there. So, we're expanding Maple Grove to 5 lanes. Let's let people use it. Let's let them turn left. Let's let them get on that road. That's why we're doing this.
Sure, I appreciate those points. Another improvement though with the medians is slowing traffic, trying to keep those speeds down. We honestly did look at adding medians the entire project, which was part of the 4-lane alternative, and realized that that's too far and too much for this project at this point, but it's something that we did think about. And basically we dialed back to these medians on the south end being the feasible ones. Again, not saying that they go through, but more feasible. And we've already gotten some really good comments on those. But this one at Burnett, it's just so close to such a major intersection. And we anticipate these left turn bays to back up and be full during peak hours. There's gonna be a lot of traffic here. So we understand the negatives. And with the detour is expanding on those now, but hopefully, normal cases, the only people on Burnett are the people who live along that. And there is another side street for Mitchell that you can turn on. I forget the name because I'm not very good at pronouncing it. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick.
It's Quercus you're looking for, I think, Cody.
Yeah, that sounds right. Thank you. And like I said, it's not, whoops. Probably misspelling Mitchell. Here we go.
Now you're just making us all dizzy, Cody.
Sorry to do that.
There.
Yeah, Quercus Avenue. Again, we realized this one is less. Well, it's still about safety and reducing conflict, but this one is even more of just a design requirement of having an intersection so close to a major intersection.
All right, Alan.
Yeah, I have a question, questions. Just as a result of the last conversation about traffic as a result of the project. I'm not sure I understand that. Maybe you could explain that again. How will this current line cause traffic to would otherwise not be going down Burnett?
I'm
So,
sorry,
Alan,
sorry. I'm not done.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Your sound is breaking up. So I think your question is still related to the restricted turns and the amount of traffic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So I did not understand how the traffic would be increased as a result of the project design. Could you explain that again?
Was the question the purpose of the project with traffic growth?
Alan, you're still
hear
breaking
my
up.
voice?
Can you type it in the chat real quick and then we'll follow up?
How do I do that?
At the top of your screen, there's a bubble that says chat. And if you just click on that, you should be able to just type your question in. You keep breaking up at that critical word. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I do not see the chat on the top of the screen. Damn it. I don't see a chat option.
So there's not.
If he's on a browser, it may be at the bottom. It's a little like a conversation bubble.
Maybe, is it on the bottom of your screen?
I don't see it. I'm sorry.
All right, try your question one more time. Be brief. You don't understand.
I don't understand why there's going to be an increase in traffic in Burnett as a result of the product design.
Okay, he
Oh,
doesn't
gotcha.
understand why there's an increase of traffic on Burnett because of this project design. We got it.
Yeah, we don't expect there to be. I mean, basically, the people who live on the east end near Maple Grove would use it more often to get to their homes. So it'd be a couple, less than a dozen more cars a day likely when we're not in this detour. Right now if you haven't seen, there's utility work adding a water line down kind of the middle of the project from the Knutson lateral up to that new development. So there's a lot of detour traffic coming through Mitchell and some people turning on Burnett once they see the closure. But overall, it shouldn't increase traffic on Burnett.
Okay, the other question I had, if you could still hear me, was there an irrigation pipe that goes under the grove now basically where Churchill is. It goes from the east side there, Churchill, just to the south of Churchill, across Maple Grove, and then enters a weir, a steel weir, a large steel weir that feeds water to Wright Street rotation and to Burnett Street rotation. It's very close to the east side of Maple Grove right now. I'm wondering if you are going to be excavating and replacing the current irrigation pipe under Maple Grove there, and whether the weir is going to be affected by the project.
Let's see. Oh, I've got too far. In general, it's likely we are, and we will work with the ditch rider or the irrigation district to make sure that what we replace matches or is better. Let's see. Where have I gone?
I actually have your old plans. I can show you where that weir is and where the line goes from the 96 expansion or from the 96 sewer line improvements.
Okay, yeah, it should be in our survey, but in general, yes, anything that we impact, we will replace in kind.
Great, Terry?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your patience so we could get your question answered. Terry?
Yes, I forgot one question I had is concern with the roundabout we have being so close to the roundabout and we can't turn left and there's no stop signs anymore, no stop lights to stop traffic. So with the people coming down Amity and down Maple Grove in the future, when you extended 5 lanes all the way, I will not be able to get out of my driveway certain times, especially during work time in the morning. It starts about 6:30 and doesn't get over with until about 8:30. And the only reason we can even turn right, we have to turn when the light turns and stops traffic before people come off Amity or people come down Maple Grove. So what are you going to do when I get stuck in my driveway for 2.5 hours and I can't get out because there's constant traffic coming both off of Amity and off of Maple Grove, headed north?
Jeff, please correct me if I misspeak, but in general, the widening itself will help with that. We have, double the capacity.
No, it won't, because people drive in both lanes. I can tell you that.
Right, but you'll have half the traffic in one side, and well, not half, but it'll be split between giving more gaps on the inside lane.
So when this
happens, roundabout,
I don't agree with you.
Jeff, have we seen any issues with?
Right?
So Terry, let Cody finish and then we'll give you a chance with a follow-up question, but you need to let him finish his response, okay? And then you can follow up.
I just want to say we have not, I understand your concern, and that has been brought up in the past, but we have not seen an issue with that with roundabouts that we've installed. You're right. We don't get the larger kind of platoon gap that we get with a signal, so you don't have a big gap when it's red light. But I would say, from what I've observed, it's actually better than a stop sign, even because people have to come in and they slow down and they get natural gaps between slowing down. And anytime someone comes through the roundabout, like off of Amity, that'll cause another gap, and they'll be coming out of the intersection at a lower speed as well, which can allow also another gap. So I get why people have this concern, and logically it makes sense, but I don't know that we've had major significant issues with that with roundabouts we've installed so far.
Great. Terry, did you have a follow-up?
Well, I'm still concerned about it, and I would expect you guys to do something if it does take place.
Because we've got farm equipment.
And that means you're going to have to put a stop sign there. Something to slow traffic down. Because if you come out here right now, it happens. And maybe it's going to smooth out because there's 2 lanes, but I don't believe that.
Yeah, that's usually the case. the 5 lanes help with that. I saw that on 10 Mile recently. Seen that with other widening projects where with the existing 2-lane or even 3-lane, people have a hard time turning left or right. But with the 5 lane, it's much easier. And also with the 5 lane, if you have a large vehicle, like you said, farm equipment, once you start to enter the road, people have the ability now to just change lanes and pass you on the left, or basically slow down and see you. So that roundabout will help with that too. Is kind of a slower speed, they'll be more likely to see you start to pull out and yield. But yeah, we do.
Right. Yeah, they'll raise their middle finger. I hate to tell you that. So I have a swather. I have a swather.
Yeah.
I have a swather that I take out on the road to cut hay down off of Maple Grove, 16 foot wide. Okay. Which means I can't take it off my property. I can't get down there anymore once this project's done.
I would hope you'd still be able to do it, even better than today.
You can't.
But
I can't get out there with the 1 lane hardly without the traffic lights. 16 foot's going to take up most of the double lane, most of the 2 lanes. Okay.
All right, Anthony, you have a
Well,
follow-up?
don't leave yet. I want to hear the answer to that.
Oh,
I would say, again, we don't expect that to be an issue, and if it is, we'll have to look into it.
Okay.
Okay.
We are taping this.
Okay. Oh, yeah, we are too.
And we can, maybe Cody, you can kind of circle back with some more details and some additional information so they feel a bit more comfortable with how a roundabout works and how you actually get more gaps than the platooning with the signals because of the slower traffic. So maybe some additional explanation, maybe you can add something to the webpage or some additional explanation about how that'll work.
So this spring, when I cut hay, my first load, you can come out, Corey, and watch what happens.
Okay. And then just are you able to time that away from the peak hours, the peak AM and afternoon hours? That could help a lot.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and let's get Anthony back through, and then we can circle back around for follow-up comments.
So I tried to drop. You guys have some the sewer installation plans from '96. Yeah, July '96. It was a 4-month project, and it's what put sewer from Victory south on Maple Grove. I don't know where the termination point is, but the plans from roughly Wright Street to south of my property, there's a 10-inch sewer main, and there's a stub out on Churchill that's pressurized. I don't know about the other property owners, but I have 2 sewer stub outs that go to my property. One goes to my home, which I'm currently connected to, and there's another sewer stub out that goes to what is currently a field. And so I'm wondering what you guys are doing to ensure that those utility connections are perpetuated to the new property line, wherever that is.
Yeah, so we have utility coordination meetings. We have a whole utility section over here in capital projects, and we have after each design review meeting, we meet with the utilities, send them the plans. The city is great about attending those, or at least giving comments. So that is all on the utilities to make sure that they move or add on or do any improvements they want to do with the project. But we can't really direct that. It's all on the that would be the city of Boise, or if any of the private utilities like Suez, or sorry, they're now called Veolia for the water line.
No, this would just be this is the sanitary sewer, 10-inch.
Yeah, so that would be, I believe that's city of Boise sewer.
So right now everybody has a connection at the current property line. That's how the sewer was installed. So there's a fitting, there's a connection, there's an interface between where the city ended its work and the homeowner picked up their work. Right now, if there's a break in that connection, it's the homeowner's responsibility. And I'm assuming everybody got permitted to connect into the city main. The homeowner is responsible for repairing that up to the property line. So when you expand the street, that connection that was installed by the homeowner or their licensed contractor is now underneath your right of way. So how does the responsibility for that interface connection that was made by a contractor not hired by you, how does that change hands in terms of responsibility? I can't imagine, and the reason I'm asking is because you know, like that stub out that gets extended. There's now a coupling, and contractors are really terrible at doing compaction properly and bedding that stuff. And so if that breaks, a homeowner that cannot then be asked to pay for the cost of trenching out into a new street to the old connection point. So does ACHD or the utility then take ownership of that connection that they did not install when the homeowner was connected to the sewer?
So since this hasn't been an issue in the past, I'm guessing it's something that is routinely done. And this, I can't confirm this. This is just, again, my guess because I haven't had any problems with it on past projects, is it's on the utility company to move the connection to the new property line. And that would be on the city, not the property owner, because the connection / meter should be at the new property line, and the property owner should not be responsible for anything under the public right of way. But I can confirm that.
Yeah,
but I think that would be a great one to confirm and then follow up. Jill also said she's affected by that. So we'll get a more concrete answer and some clarification on that.
And as part of that clarification, if you guys have some type of like legislature, reference that explicitly transfers the ownership of that connection to the public utility, I've been searching like in Idaho's civil code, all the government regulations, and I cannot find any explicit reference or statement that says it is. I mean, I just can't find it written out in a code somewhere that says, when this type of expansion happens, that is then transferred. So I mean, government has plenty of laws that it must be written down somewhere. I simply have not been able to find it. And I work for the transportation department. I have access to right-of-way people, and they can't find it either. So it's an unsolvable enigma, and I'd really appreciate if you guys can solve that, because the last thing I want is in my 80s to be told that I need to fix a main out in the middle of the street.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm curious about that too. I'm wondering if it's just as general as, any utilities within the public right of way is responsibility of the utility itself. That's probably not always the case, if there's an easement or something like that. But yeah, I'll talk to our utilities department, see if they've got a bead. I'm even willing to ask, the city of Boise for their legal take on all that also.
Yeah, and if they, like I said, if they can cite something written down somewhere, not just we've always done it this way, it's just kind of how we do things, because it's all fine and dandy till it's not. And
Sure.
and then someone gets a $20,000 bill for whatever.
Gotcha.
All right, so that's a good follow-up action item. We're approaching time. Jill's got her hand up. I do want to be cognizant of everyone giving up their evening. So let's move on to Jill, and then we'll take last final comments.
Hi, thank you. I understand that there's no plan to put city water under the road here during this time, and I wondered why.
Again, that's so that would be Veolia, their private company, who does most of the water in city of Boise. They are currently extending the water line that is down on Amity up to the new development that's just south of the Latter-day Saints Church. So that might mean that the Veolia changes their mind and they say they do now want to extend that water line to the north. But again, that's all on the water company. We don't have any power in where they install or don't install water lines. But I would say more likely that they would do it now because someone else extended it a bit for them. So we can ask them about that as well.
That's great. Would it be helpful, or I would really like to see city water, mainly because of the fire, whatever danger. I can't build a bigger house or add on to my house because they can't put out the fire without having city water. And so it makes sense to put it in while they've got things torn up. Can I talk to Veolia? I don't know how to pronounce that. I mean, is there a way for us to advocate for what we want?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a direct contact. I mean, I do, but I don't think they go through requests. But I'd say, yeah, if you go to Veolia Water, just Google it, see their contact info and give them a call or an email and say, hey, we'd like to have water line on this to this property. Yeah, definitely can't hurt.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jill. And then we also have a question from Alan. Will traffic traveling west on Victory Road be able to turn left south onto Maple Grove?
Oh, yeah. Kind of hidden here. Yeah, we'll still have the left turn lane on both legs of Victory. And future projects would actually widen Victory a bit. Again, those aren't currently scheduled, but they are in the out years to plan to widen to finish Victory. So that's 5 lanes all the way from Eagle to Cole. There's a few pockets where it's still 3 lanes, and that would include probably adding another left turn on both sides of Victory. And yes, all the turning movements at Victory Maple Grove are still available.
Thank you. All right, Anthony, you have one final question?
Yeah, a question and a comment. So with all this new construction, where I moved here from, there's typically a moratorium on trenching and cutting into the new road. And this kind of ties into Jill's question about the water. If this goes, I mean, well, the road's project's going forward, but if Veolia decides not to bring it further down and the road gets built, is there a 5-year or decade moratorium or something like that on open cutting the new road?
Yes, so for almost all new pavement, we have a 5-year moratorium.
Okay.
But by moratorium, it doesn't mean you can't cut into it. It just means there's more impact. So instead of doing a standard trench, they probably have to widen or repave maybe the whole half of the road to make it more consistent. So it's not that you can't do it, it's that there's a lot more requirements to keep the longevity of the road. So
Okay.
it's possible, but that's the reason that the utilities want to do stuff with us instead of after us.
And then I just have a comment about adding the water. I would caution wanting to add the water because once you do, they will make you connect to it. I know when I connected into the sewer, replacing my septic was not an option because the sewer connection was there. And that impact fee was almost $11,000 to connect to the sewer, in addition to $3,200 in excavation work. So if Veolia does run a water line all the way down to Victory and your well goes out, my understanding is that the health department will not issue you a permit for a new well, and by default you will be required to connect to the water line. So I'm not in favor of the water being extended. I rather have well water, but just for everybody on the call, keep that in mind. And feel free to contact me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding, and that's exactly how it worked with the sewer, works with the sewer connections as well.
All right, thanks for sharing that information. So everyone's got their challenge for their homework assignment. We have some action items to follow up on the utilities and the connections and ownership, and we'll get that information out to everybody. Again, if you're an adjacent property owner or have additional concerns, encourage you to reach out to Cody and get your specific questions answered. And thank you all for spending your evening with us. We appreciate it. Appreciate sharing the information and your questions and feedback. It helps to make for a better project. Cody or Christy, do you have anything in closing?
I'll just say, yeah, thanks again. Please feel free to contact me, email me, call us. Get back to you as soon as I can. And yeah, definitely want your input.
Oh, and go to the webpage and take the survey. Please. I saw Christy looking at me. All right. Well, with that, thank you very much. And we look forward to hearing from you as this project continues to go forward. And links to the project website are being posted now. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again.